joining us today. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please use the chat or Q&A feature to submit them to me, or if you're listening via phone, you can send me an email. We'll pause throughout the presentation and then try to take the phones off mute at the end if anybody wants to verbally ask a question to Jim. So with that, Jim, the floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. This is Jim Yu. So today we're going to go over the status of the practice area program and Agile management. Okay, so this is the table of contents. So we're going to walk through the table of contents during this presentation. And the traffic light chart shows the, what I think is the state of each topic area. You'll see that under talent review, you see the chart is half yellow, half green, and I'll explain that when we get to the slide. So practice at a glance. So the mission of program and Agile management practice area is to equip RG consultants with the necessary knowledge in program management and Agile disciplines so you can help our customer deliver value early and often. So I'm not just talking about RG consultants delivering value. I'm talking about helping our customers deliver values to their consumers and their end users, helping them develop and implement their systems so value can be delivered early and often. So primarily that is the focus of Agile methodologies, which is focusing on delivering things of value to the end user or consumer. So so I am the practice area manager, and I have Pat Zorns and Keith Kerr as my team leads in this area. And as far as the people who holds certifications in program and Agile management, we have approximately 40 program management professionals in the company, so that's very good. And we've also held the most recent Agile certification training. We certify a number of RG staff that's listed below under the SAFE Agilist. So SAFE is the Scale Agile framework, which is a very popular Agile methodology, especially in the government space. We're going to talk a little bit about that later on in the presentation. And then in the next slide, we'll elaborate a little bit about the expertise within the company. So expertise by numbers. So what I was just overall, this slide is intended to show where are the senior expertise in program and Agile management. So if you look on the lower right-hand corner, you'll see an average of 27%. So that is the percentage of senior people in the company with senior expertise. So just a little over a quarter of the company consider themselves senior in the various disciplines listed in the bar chart at the bottom half of this slide. So the reason I put on the upper left-hand corner, you see the yellow and green circle as the status is because this particular practice area, program and Agile management, is fairly diverse, right? RG has traditionally been very strong in project and program management. So we have lots of people, 40 or so certified PMPs. But we're relatively new in Agile, And you can actually see that in the survey. So if you see the bar charts towards the bottom, the one with the most number of senior expertise is the third one from the top, right? That's program management, lifecycle process design, and implementation. So within the company of 185, 66 employees deem themselves to have a high level of expertise in this program management lifecycle process. So whereas just the line above, you can see transitioning to Agile, so only about half of the number 35 out of 185 employees has experience in transitioning to Agile. So this is where the diverse expertise I mentioned earlier comes in. We have lots of people with senior traditional program management expertise, but very few with the Agile management disciplines. So that's so one of my goals over the coming year is to improve RG's maturity, especially in the Agile management areas. Okay, so the next slide, we're going to see the number of RG staff who has certifications in these areas. So the first two bullets on the page, you'll see it's from PMI. So PMI has, the PMP that's been around for many decades. So we have about 40 professionals who are certified in PMP. So PMI also has created an Agile certification. When the giant elephant in the industry, PMI, is creating an Agile certification, Agile has gone mainstream. And we have one person who holds the PMI ACP certification in the company. And then so I also mentioned the Scale Agile framework. That is an industry organization that created an Agile methodology that is mostly suited for the government space in implementing Agile on a large scale for large government programs. So they also offer certifications, and so you see Certified Safe Agilist. That is the training class that I will be offering a follow-on class to train additional internal staff so we can, over the next year, improve our maturity in implementing Agile and helping our clients adapt the benefits of Agile. So there's another organization called the Scrum Alliance, and they are the ones who offer the Certified Scrum Master certification. So we have 10 of those within the company, and we also have one Scrum Product Owner certified professional. So when you look at this list, overall we're in pretty good shape. We need to beef up the Agile areas a little bit more. And in the next few slides, you'll see why. So the market analysis is that, RG is a recognized brand in the government, primarily in program management. We're very new to the Agile space, and so is the government. So Agile has been around for nearly 15 years since the Agile Manifesto was documented. So typically, the government lags industry by about a decade. So now that it's been 10 years since Agile has gone mainstream in the commercial world, government is jumping on the bandwagon. So we need to make sure our consultants are equipped with the necessary expertise and skills so we can help our government customer make the transition as more and more government programs and agencies are jumping on the Agile bandwagon. So the way I would like to, pursue these opportunities is to take advantage of our deep government expertise, and by training existing consultants, by augmenting their skill sets with additional Agile knowledge and expertise, my hope is that we can use the synergy of what we already know in the government to help our government clients make the transition to Agile and make this much smoother transition than many agencies have experienced. Let's take a look at some of our competitors. So you can see, the big boys on top, and there are lots of competitors in both program management and Agile space. And the names on top, they're all multi-billion-dollar companies. So we compete with the big boys, but there's also hundreds of smaller consulting companies in program management and Agile that we're also competing with them, because lots of these new contracts coming out are set aside for small businesses. So we're losing a lot of recompetes to these small companies. So that's why I'm making this area yellow, because we need to figure out a strategy to get us in the door in the environment where everything that can be set aside for small business are set aside. Okay, so let's take a look at the market trends. So this chart shows the overall economic growth around the world. So, back in 2008, 2009, there's a recession, so there was a big dip in growth into negative growth territory, and then 3 years later, it bounced back. And now, in 2015 and beyond, we're pretty much looking at steady state growth. So what that means is, there's not much increase or decrease in the amount of growth. So the takeaway here is, going forward around the world, it's likely that the budget will not increase or decrease dramatically. So, if there's additional demand and requirements coming down, then projects need to figure out how to do more with less. Okay, so this chart shows essentially the amount of the percentage of projects that are deemed successful. So approximately, over the last few years, it's been fairly steady state. Approximately 64% of projects are deemed successful. And what that means is they're more or less on budget and they're able to meet their goals. So what does that leave? That leaves nearly 40% of projects that are not meeting their goals. So the next slide we'll see, one reason that projects are not meeting their goals. So imagine this is a pizza, right? So when you buy a pizza, what percentage of the pizza are you going to eat? So according to this chart, 45 plus 19 are never or rarely used. So this is an analogy to buying software systems, right? So traditionally, when you buy software systems, this is average of 60 plus % of features are rarely or never used. So that's tremendous amount of waste. So for whatever reason, this is the state that the industry is in. Majority of features built into software systems are rarely or never used. So I think this is one key reason why Agile has gained so much more popularity, because Agile focus on delivering features that's of high priority that can be, that's always or often used by the end user. So, all right, next slide. We're going to take a look. We're on slide 11 for those who are following outside of the WebEx. So this slide shows that Agile has gone mainstream, especially in the commercial world. So there's a survey done by Version 1 on the state of Agile adoption, and they found 94% of the organization are doing some form of Agile. So, you got to think to yourself as a consultant, if you don't know Agile or are not learning about Agile, then you're falling behind in the industry. So while majority of this is on the commercial side, the government is adopting Agile more and more. And as you can see, the slide on the right-hand side, the amount of Agile experience continue to grow year over year as companies continue to perform Agile and gain additional expertise. So what are some of the reasons that companies adapt Agile? So this slide gives you a highlight. So I'll just go over the top few items. The number one reason is speed of delivery. So for those who are familiar with Agile, Agile delivers things in very short increments, typically 2-week sprints. So if you practice Agile correctly, then the potential you have is you can deliver working software every 2 weeks. So that is the primary benefit that most people are looking for. They're looking for delivery very quickly. The number 2 reason right here indicates the project team is able to accept changing priorities. So we all know that customer has a difficult time describing what they want, and once they see something, they tend to change their mind. So Agile builds in the flexibility that lets the customer change their mind every 2 weeks. So in these 2-week sprints, at the end of the 2 weeks, the customer can reprioritize what's most important, so they can continue to guide the direction of the project. So the rest of the slides you can read by yourself, but the primary reason for companies to adapt Agile is for the speed and the flexibility. So what are some of the benefits of organizations that has high agility? So this bar chart, you can see that, number one, organizations with high agility are the ones in red, and they're able to meet their business goals. They're able to finish projects on time, and they're able to finish projects within budget, as opposed to organizations that's considered low agility, that's highlighted in blue, then you can see they're much less likely to be successful. And this is based on a PMI survey. So you may ask, what are the traits of organizations with high agility? So we'll take a look on the next slide. So, very similar to the benefits of adopting Agile, organizations that are considered with that are considered that with high agility, they're able to respond and make decisions quickly, be able to respond to change, and they have cross-functional teams. That means, interdisciplinary teams. What that means is the team has all the expertise on the team to fulfill the mission, to do the work. They're not relying on other teams to do the work. And just want to highlight also use iterative project management practices. So one way is you don't do all of the requirements up front, right? You do your requirements in a rolling way fashion iteratively. Okay, so how has the market evolved? So over the last 2-3 years, I'm seeing significantly more government agencies taking advantage of the power of Agile. So these are just some examples, and I'm only listing the agencies that RG has some involvement on either now or in the past. So they include Homeland Security's Customs and Border Protection, DOD, CIA, GSA, Citizens and Immigration Services, and NTIA, that's an agency under Department of Commerce. So all of these agencies have adopted Agile in some capacity. So I would say CBP, GSA are probably the front runners in the civilian government space. Okay, so that's the end of the market analysis. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to type in your questions, or I don't think the phone line is open yet. So tools analysis. Let's take a look. What are the tool leaders in the industry? So this particular analysis is on Agile program management tools. So you can see the leaders are Microsoft, IBM, and Atlassian. So RG has expertise with Microsoft technology, obviously, and then Atlassian is the company that creates the Agile management tool called Jira. So we have people with expertise in 2 of the projects that I know of at GSA and Customs and Border Protection, CBP. We have people with RG folks using the Atlassian suite of tools. At CBP, I also remember we piloted version 1 for a period of time, but the customer decided to go with Atlassian. So these are some of the project management tools that commonly used for Agile projects. So surprisingly, Microsoft Excel is the most commonly used tools. I would not recommend using Excel. I would recommend using one of the Agile lifecycle management tools like Atlassian Jira version 1 or Rally. So those are tools built for Agile projects. The reason Microsoft Excel and Microsoft Project are used is because that they're available to most of the projects out there. And for projects who don't want to make an investment in an Agile tool, then they tend to use Excel to manage their projects. And while that's okay for small projects, once you get beyond one or 2 teams, then it becomes increasingly difficult to roll up progress using Excel tools. So some of the customer-facing initiatives. So I list two projects here, one at General Services Administration and one at the Customs and Border Protection, because both of these engagements have elements of Agile and program management in both of these programs. And they both are modernization programs taking advantage of the power of Agile to deliver value early and often. So at GSA, I'm leading the engagement to modernize all of GSA's contract management systems. So there's a dozen systems in GSA, such as FedBizOps, and past performance systems and others that help GSA manage contracts both before and after contract award. Many of the RG business development folks are very familiar with FedBizOps. That's one of the larger systems in this collection that GSA is modernizing using the Agile methodology. And at Customs and Border Protection, they have computer systems that manage the cargo entry and exit process. So anything coming into the United States or leaves are managed by the cargo's automated commercial environment system. So that is a very large modernization program that initially was considered a failure. So the program restructured itself to leverage Agile and now it's considered a turnaround success because it's able to deliver valuable features into production every 3 to 6 months. So these are two examples where large government agencies have leveraged both program management and Agile disciplines. So some of the sales support activities listed here. So I just want to mention that just a month ago I went up to U.S. Army's Picatinny Arsenal, and we conducted Agile training for their development team on base, and we were able to certify 25 people in Agile for the U.S. Army. So, this is a very, I think, a good success story where we have consultants at Picatinny Arsenal. They heard about a customer's need for Agile certification, and within 3 weeks, we were able to get in the firm fixed price proposal accepted by the Army, conduct the training, and certify 25 people. So super fast turnaround from the time that the customer expressed the need to the time when their team is certified. We also, so the next bullet is we also engaged Department of Commerce. I believe it's the Minority Business Development Administration, where they're interested in using Agile to manage a modernization project. The state of Michigan is where they're looking for an Agile certified project manager. So I plan to offer an Agile certification course in the near future, so to support this type of requirement. So the key ongoing internal program is to work with the Performance Institute in offering Agile certification training to the general public. This is something that I think will not just give RG revenue, but also name recognition in the Agile space, because now we have the capacity and the ability to certify people in multiple Agile disciplines. So these opportunities will also be offered to RG's internal staff. So some of the trainings that I plan to offer this year include the Scale Agile Frameworks Leading Safe certification. The certification is called Safe Agilist, and that provides an overview of the Scale Agile Framework. It's primarily for project managers to learn what are the key concepts in implementing Agile at a large scale. And for most of our government programs, they're all very large. Very large means more than 1 or 2 teams. So when you need to implement Agile at a large scale or the enterprise level, you need something like the Scale Agile framework to figure out how to implement things at the team level, at the program level, and at the portfolio level.
Hey, Jim, a question came through.
Sure.
Okay, the question is, what do you think RG's role should or could be around Agile? Is this a big talent restructuring for RG, or can we repurpose many of the existing skills but in a different model?
So I think I've talked about that a little bit, but my thought is we're going to retool and augment the skills of our internal staff by using internal training and certification to beef up everybody's Agile expertise. So when the opportunity comes along to help our customers make the transition and the migration towards Agile, our consultants are equipped to do so. Hope that answers the question. So
Great,
these are some of the examples right here. You see the 2 certification training that we plan to offer this year. So we've already offered the Leading Safe training, I think, back in February. So another follow-on courses is going to be offered this year. Plus, I also plan to offer the Scrum XP training. XP stands for Extreme Programming. Scrum XP training is another certification training. This is a training, it's a more technical training on the technical practices of Agile teams. So it will cover Scrum process, so you know what a team is supposed to do and how the team is supposed to follow the Scrum process. In addition, XP covers the Agile engineering practices. So these are best practices that the technical team is supposed to perform. And we're going to have so I plan to offer an Agile brown bag on Agile engineering practices in addition to the certification training on Scrum and XP. So if anybody has any additional questions, feel free to ask about these topics. And in the meantime, I will move on. So the timeline for this year, we've already conducted Agile certification training, and we got 9 of our RG staff certified in Agile this year. And in the current quarter, we conducted the Scaled Agile brown bag. The next quarter, we plan to offer another Agile certification training. So right now, my thought is we'll probably just repeat the same Agile certification training, the Leading Safe course that we offered in quarter 1. There's also an Agile 2015 conference coming up in August. And then in quarter 4, we'll follow up with more Agile brown bags and possibly another Agile certification training if there's sufficient demand. Okay, so what are some of the risks in this area? So the primary focus externally is to educate our business development staff as well as our consultants to be more Agile aware. So when the opportunity comes up, such as in the case of the U.S. Army needing Agile training, then we have sufficient awareness and be able to speak some of the Agile vocabulary to, get the business in. And for those consultants who are able to obtain the Agile certification, then they can take their newly learned experience and leverage their, decades of government experience to help agencies transform to Agile. And, both external and internally focus is essentially bringing up and beefing up our internal expertise through certification and training and brown bags. That's all I have for the presentation.
Thanks, Jim. I did have one question come through. Is there a date for the Q3 training?
No, it hasn't been scheduled, so that's one of things on my to-do list, to get together with PI to figure out a schedule to hold the next training session. So I'm thinking it will be June or July timeframe.
Great. So I'm going to unmute everybody in case there's anybody that wants to ask a question over the phone. So if you could just mute your own phone for me so that we can eliminate any background noise whenever I do this, I'd appreciate it. And if there's a lot of noise, I'll just mute you all again. Okay, everybody should be unmuted in case you have a question for Jim. All right, I think there's no questions then. So Jim, thanks so much today for your presentation, and thanks for everyone that was participating via WebEx and on the call.
Okay, and feel free to reach out to me offline if you think of a question or have a suggestion. I'm open to that offline. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Jim. Have a great week, everybody.